Thank you again for the invitation. It's a divine pleasure to literally be here and to be able to add value to your community as well. So thank you for having me.
Love it. So, Samuel, from the bit that I know that intrigued me about your story, you were working a full-time job and also having a property on the side, investment property on the side, and it seems like your wife was going through a tough time at her job in the elementary or the school era arena, and you just were frustrated by her frustration and seeing them take advantage of her, and you said, you know what, I'm gonna get her off this job, and that propelled you into what you are doing today. So I kind of just want to give listeners a little background just from what I've studied on you, and if you could kind of just, I know we're starting at a weird spot, we'll come back to the beginning, but if you could, like, that's powerful, man. That was your motivation and drive.
100%, and it's exciting, David. Like, I'm literally sitting there getting excited just listening to where you decided for us to start from, because, like, I don't think I've ever been interviewed and we started there, and I think that snippet of life is so powerful and potent as a foundation, because you got it spot on. Like, I was frustrated about my wife's frustration. So my wife used to work as a primary school teacher. I used to work as a secondary and A-level maths teacher. So to those of you in the US, that's kind of like high school going into the first couple of years of college. And my wife was going through some interesting experience at work. So she had a mentor. She was a trainee teacher. She had a mentor. The mentor is supposed to sign off, every time they have a meeting with you. And for some reason, this mentor never had any meetings with my wife. So because she never had any meetings with her, my wife assumed that obviously nothing was getting signed. And she just assumed that, one day they'd end up having a meeting at some point in the academic year. Long story short, my wife then requested for some support, additional support. She was told her mentor was going to be changed. And then when she went to get that whole change of mentor, she ended up finding documents or seeing documents with the new mentor, which had her signature on from meetings with the old mentor. And she was like, well, I never signed anything because I never had any meetings. Now, schools generally are regulated by the government. So right. If you're working in a school and you got people like falsifying information, like literally forging signatures, that's a big kind of like telltale sign. So this resulted in my wife going through like a whole bunch of scenarios, just basically dealing with stress, like mainstream stress. And I was coming home each day, seeing my wife come home each day and wondering like, how long is it gonna be that I'm gonna be frustrated, seeing how much my wife is frustrated. So the key for me was to, what we help people do now anyway, but the key for me was to help my wife sack her boss. It was all about sacking my spouse's boss. Like, for me, creating cash flow, becoming financially free, financial independence, all of these buzzwords we use, none of that for me was about money. None of that for me was about lifestyle or leverage or legacy. It wasn't about that at the start for me. It was literally just about alleviating the frustration that I had seeing my wife being so frustrated. So yeah, that's a powerful snippet. But yeah, that's where we really got the juices flowing.
Dude, that's amazing. It must show the love you have for your wife, right? Because if that affects you so much to the point that it drives you to that, like, how long you guys been married? What?
Awesome. So this year we're going to be celebrating our 11th year of marriage. So we just went past 10 years last year. And it's powerful you asked the question or alluded to that, David, about the love for my wife. I think like one of the things that's interesting, I think everybody has a level of love for something in their life. And what we have to understand is everybody who has a level of love for the thing in their life, that thing has generally a limit. So it doesn't matter. Like when I rewind the table all the way back to when I was young, like I watched my mum, for example, be made redundant. She worked for 15 years for a bank in central London. And one day she came home and said her name was on the list, like they decided to get rid of her. And I looked at my mum and watched my mum for the next couple of months struggle to try to sell her house with speed. And that was kind of really, for me, probably my first insight into the whole real estate and property field, just literally watching my mum struggle. And it was at that time that, again, maybe I saw the limit on someone I love, which led me to have to leverage and do more. And I think 9 times out of 10, there's usually 2 ways that we end up producing results. One of those ways is because we see the limits on the people that we love. Sometimes we see the limits on ourselves. And then the second way is that we literally know that we want to increase our own limit. So, in psychology, they call that away and towards motivation. So whether it's you want to get out of some scenario, some situation, or whether you want to get towards some scenario, some situation, they're the only two kinds of motivation. So it's powerful hearing you share that as well.
Wow, brother. Wow. I love it. Towards and away. So take us back. You were on that track there. Take us through the journey of a young Samuel, and just that process of becoming who you are today, and take us from there all the way up to today.
That's awesome. So, I guess, so synergistic with the name of the podcast, like there was a lot of discovery points. And I think one of the things that's important is for everyone to understand that discovery in a lifetime is not always about a singular moment. So the interesting thing for me is, like, as I was sharing earlier, 11 years old, I'm watching my mom literally be made redundant. I'm watching her struggle to sell her house. And I'm realizing certain things. I'm realizing I have no income. I'm realizing I don't have a job. I'm literally having some great light bulb moments. So let me share with you some of the light bulb moments. At the age of 6, my dad and my mom decided to get divorced. So 5 years later, I'm watching my mom, who literally is just like single mother, going through financial turmoil because she's been made redundant and not knowing how she's going to sell her house with speed because she doesn't know how to pay her mortgage, right? So as I'm watching this as an 11-year-old and bearing in mind, saying to myself, look, I don't have any income, I can't help my mom. I don't have revenue, I don't have a job, I can't help my mom. A big light bulb turned on for me. And unfortunately, and I'm going to share this because we win and we lose in life. Unfortunately, I didn't manage that light bulb as well as I would have if I had that light bulb today. And that light bulb was, this 9-to-5 thing doesn't work. Now, the reality was, I just realized, looking at my mom had told me since I was very young, go to school, get a good job, the whole adage we've all heard.
Oh, yeah.
But now I'm looking at my mom and I'm saying, well, this Wonder Woman, she's gone to school, she's got a great job, she's literally served for 15 years. Like 15 years is a long time of service. Yeah. And at the drop of a hat, her name's on the list and she's out of here. So I looked at my mom doing it the conventional way, and what I learned as an 11-year-old, the big light bulb that came on for me was, Samuel, you need to have your revenue in your own hands. Now, unfortunately, as an 11-year-old, without the adequate skill set, tool set, mindset, I wasn't able to create the appropriate asset. And what I did is I went out and looked for the answer, unfortunately, on the streets. And I found other young men, 16-year-olds, 18-year-olds, driving nice flashy cars. And I said to myself, well, hold on a minute. If the 9-to-5 thing that my mom's doing doesn't work, and my dad, again, I've got a very strong relationship with my dad, always have, but my dad, he had his own business. And my dad wasn't the flashiest of guys. So although he had his own business, I never thought to myself that he was making real revenue with his business. So because of that, my mindset as an 11-year-old, fairly probably ignorant, was this normal street doesn't work. This entrepreneurial street doesn't work. So I'm gonna have to find a way that works, because nobody wants to live with what doesn't work. So right. This is how I then saw these younger guys committing crimes, making money that way, and said, you know what, that's going to be the path for me. And that was the path for me for a number of years, until, again, some more discovery moments. I celebrated my 18th birthday in prison. That was a discovery moment. And it wasn't a discovery moment because, oh, I'm in prison, I'm all alone. But there was two real key factors to it. The first one was, throughout my prison sentence, for the first time as a young person, I got to actually think without the influence of people who I thought were friends. So because I was thinking for the first time without the influence of people who I thought were friends, my thoughts were so much more refined. I got to really question what I was thinking. I got to ask myself questions without the interruption of a friend or an acquaintance who's now going to say, oh, do you want to smoke this? Or, oh, do you want to go do this? Or, oh, should we do that? And one of the things I'll share, David, which I think is going to be really rich for those listening and those tuned in, is 9 times out of 10, what we don't realize is the reason we are on the path we're on is because we've spent more time discovering who we've been than who we're supposed to be. And I think for me, that was one of the big light bulb moments I had celebrating my 18th birthday in prison. Like, I don't know about you, but most people I know, I envisage at 18 years old, they're having parties. They're doing great stuff to celebrate that kind of transition from youth to adulthood. Like that wasn't my story. So when I came out of prison, like I had a whole different outlook on life, on how I was really going to change things, which then led me to go and try and approach it the traditional way again. So